Welcome, Irish fans, to the next episode of the The Irish Fan Podcast. My name is Danny. Good evening. Hope everyone's doing okay. I'm doing all right. Feeling a little bit under the weather today, but I always feel better when I'm doing this. This is my happy place. This is home to me. Talking Notre Dame football. I hope home to you is also talking Notre Dame football. We just had a big game, played Stanford. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into some other things. It's not going to be a very long episode. There's only a couple things I want to talk about because we beat the dog out of the trees from Palo Alto, Stanford. Before we do, please do me a favor. Click the like button, comment, subscribe. That helps the YouTube algorithm get this podcast out there and going. And that's all I've got right now. That's the only form of social media I'm using right now is YouTube. So the more you do that, the better it is for me and the better it is for you because you get more Notre Dame football content. I mean, and you know, how could you not want more? We all want more, right? So, big win, 49-7 against Stanford. Just a couple things about the game. First, we're always going to start with the standard of excellence. We're always going to continue that on this podcast, which means talking about Riley Leonard, talking about the quarterback, talking about how we're going to continue to get better game by game by game by game. Look, your boy has been on a bench Riley Leonard since the Northern Illinois loss. I know I am not the only one, but I've been on a big bench Riley Leonard kick. So it doesn't look like that's going to happen. That's not happening. We're going with Riley Leonard until he loses again, or 3 times, or 4 times, like some of these other national pundits are saying. We're sticking with Riley Leonard. Fine. Totally fine. How he was used on Saturday is exactly what I need. It's exactly what all Irish fans need. It's exactly what Notre Dame fans need. We don't need him running 15 times a game for over 100 yards. I mean, those kinds of stats, I guess, are good, but you want to give those to the guys who actually can run better, which are your running backs. Anywhere from 30 to 80 yards a game rushing, from 220 to 240, 250 yards a game passing. That's what we need. Couple of touchdowns, whether it's 3. I mean, obviously we want touchdowns, 3, 4, any combination of the ground and air. Just going forward. How he was used on Saturday was great. Great step in the right direction. Throw the ball down the field. Also, that was happening. Whether it's completed or not is irrelevant. Honestly, it's going to draw a penalty or it's going to be completed because we have athletes. It's one thing. That's what I've been trying to say all season. That's what some other Irish fans have been trying to say all season is pass the ball and give it to the guys who are good in space. We have those athletes. We really do. We did that on Saturday, so that looked really, really good. Couple things also about the game. We're gonna save what happened in the game for last. What I want to really, really touch on right now, other than the game, it was we just re-shredded them. There's not much to say. The defense looked good, offense looked good. Not much to talk about. There's more overlying stories to talk about. Injuries, man. I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen an Irish football team have this many injuries on the same team. Like it boggles my mind. Like, how is this happening? Is it just bad luck? Is it something to do with preparation? Lack of preparation? Like what is going on here with this amount of injuries? Let's just name a few. Obviously, this didn't happen all in the game. This is just over the course of the season, from the start of camp till now. These are all the players out for the season. Just out for the season. These players: Charles Jagasaw, starting left tackle; Ashton Craig, starting center; Jabron Payne would have been in the rotation, but he's not as needed. Our running back depth is deep. But Jabron Payne. Jordan Mettello, starting Viper, out for the season. Boubacar Traore, his backup, out for the season. Kahana Kia, I think he was out in camp. He's a linebacker. He'd have been nice in the rotation as well. out for the season. Chance Tucker, yeah, that's going to hurt because of the one that I'm about to say. He's a cornerback. He would have been in the rotation. He would have been a starter, but he definitely would have been in the rotation. Jaden Mickey, not out because of an injury, but made a personal decision to leave his team. And it's hard to say better himself. I don't know that I would have made any different situation, put in the same shoes. He wasn't a starter. He was about to be leapfrogged by two true freshmen. There was no future for him at Notre Dame other than being a backup. Leaving mid-season, however, is a problem. He did it to preserve a year of eligibility. That's a whole nother podcast. It's a whole nother talk that we're going to have of a continuing theme of this season and this podcast of NIL and its lingering effects on college football and how it's changing the game. You got kids just quitting mid-season on their own, just quitting. You'd never see that in the NFL unless it was some kind of contractual dispute and they weren't getting the money that they were owed or whatever. That'd be the only reason. But people quitting mid-season is just, it's gonna be a normal thing now until there's some kind of incentive that the NCAA hands down, or the House settlement or whatever that's gonna be, hands down to these players to give them some skin in the game. And coaches have to be able to have roster continuity. It's just so important in this modern era of college football where you have all of these injuries that are happening game by game. We're losing a starter or two a game at this point, and it's just devastating. It kills a roster, and you have to be able to be deep in order to compete, not just for a full regular season, which is 12 games, but potentially 4 more seasons if you want to win a national or 4 more seasons, 4 more games if you want to win a national championship. And it's just so hard. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. That is a future ongoing talk. A future ongoing podcast that I'm just going to keep having because it's evolving. It just is evolving. And that's another thing too. Somebody asked me, hey, why don't you record right after the game, like on a Sunday night? Well, I want to do that, but part of me holds back just because there's breaking news that happens. We don't have the coaching press conference until Monday. And then you need time to be able to digest and get information and chew on it so you can actually present it to you like I'm doing right now. So that's kind of the thinking. Just in case that's ever crossed your mind, why do you record so late? That's why. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players out for the season, whether by Jaden Mickey by choice or by season-ending injury. We're going to finish. I was just talking about Jaden Mickey, kind of got off on a tangent. Ben Morrison, our latest starter, out for the season. This is an interesting one. I have an interesting take. I want to see if you got what you guys think about it. Try and comment and let me know what you guys think about this. There's a lot of people saying they don't know when this actually happened. It was a hip injury, apparently sustained during the Stanford game, but nobody knows when that was. He never walked off the field. During the game, we did have kind of a weird weather delay, not a common occurrence in South Bend, Indiana, due to storms and lightning. But he was seen playing. He came out and warmed up after that. So it's weird. It's weird to identify when it actually happened. This is my thought. He hasn't been playing great this year. At least he hasn't been playing up to the standard of him. He's been playing good enough. Don't get me wrong. He's still an elite cornerback. He's a first-round draft pick in terms of just overall potential and play. There's no doubt about that. And he's been playing well, but he hasn't been playing as good as he can play. This is just my opinion. This is not an insider information. Someone gave this to me. I heard this on another podcast. This is purely your boy. I think this is something that he has been struggling with the whole season. And he's kind of currently going through a Jaden Mickey style of decision. Shut it down, do the surgery now, not preserve a year of eligibility so that he can transfer. Shut it down now, have the surgery now so that he can be ready for springtime when the combine hits. There's another. I know Brian Driscoll over at Irish Breakdown. He's got another opinion about, he's got a decision to make, and maybe he could potentially come back next year. I'm not saying that's what he thinks. I'm just saying it's now like this decision. He got hurt in the Stanford game, and now it's some kind of decision that he has to make to come back for one more year and improve his draft stock. I don't see it that way. I'm just going to respectfully disagree with anybody, for that matter, that has that opinion that he has this decision to make and he's gonna potentially come back, and that even will come back. No way. Not in this game. You need to make your dollars now when you can. He's got plenty of game tape to put together for NFL scouts. Plenty of elite play for NFL scouts to put together. Combine the fact that he's going to have this surgery and be ready, what he potentially will be ready for, or what he should be ready for, is the combine. Which, you can change from first to the second round, or from the second to the first round, just by that. That's happened. That has happened in the past. Kids get drafted off potential all the time, 40 times, and that's why they do the combine. That's why they do that. So I'm not going to beat that dead horse. I'm just going to say my opinion is this was something lingering and ongoing that he's been dealing with, which is why we've had this sub Ben Morrison standard of play this season. And I think he saw a window. I think he saw I have to do this, because if I keep playing throughout the whole season, which maybe he could have, maybe he couldn't, I don't know. But if he kept trying, what would have happened is now you're going into the final stages of the year. You're not playing that well for your team anyway, and you're going to push into your combine. You potentially push your injury into not being able to do the combine. So that would have hurt his draft stock, in my opinion. And I think that's what we're seeing. I think that's what happened, is he just decided to shut it down. There's no decision to make. He made it already. It's done. He's going to the NFL. So what that means, unfortunately, is we have seen the last of one of the best corners to ever come out of Notre Dame football, Ben Morrison, and probably going to be the highest draft pick since I don't know. You're looking at Glenn Earl, maybe. I don't know who the last Shane. What was his name? Shane. I played in 2002, 2003, 2004. Sorry, I can't. Name's escaping right now. It's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate situation. It's unfortunate for Ben Morrison. I'm sure he would have liked to have played the whole season. We certainly would have liked to have him play. So it just sucks. It just sucks all around. Where do we go going forward with cornerback? Here's the thing. We've got a very, very good cornerback secondary coach. He's just an absolute stud in identifying and being able to identify talent. He coached Sauce Gardner and a couple other guys over at Cincinnati. He's just truly elite, and so he has identified two really talented freshmen. We got Leonard Moore. And we got Leonard Moore, who's going to start. He'll be the starter. And then Carson Hobbs. Those will be your fill-ins. Here's the thing. Those are good enough to play the rest of the season and win on our current schedule. The current teams that we have, the next 6 games that we have on our schedule: Georgia Tech, Navy, then we got a bye week, then we got Florida State, and then Army, Army, and then I forget who is between Army and USC. Who we've got the rest of the year to play those games is going to be good enough. It will be good enough to win those games. Here's where the problem is: getting into the playoff. I think this injury, what this injury most signifies, is really we don't have a chance in the playoff. Even if we win out, it's gonna be a coin flip. It's 50-50 on whether we get a home game or not. We have to be 5, 6, 7, or 8. The committee has to deem us worthy of a 5, 6, 7, or 8 ranking by the end of the season. I know there's going to be a lot of people saying, yeah, hey, we got 2 more ranked teams to play, Army and Navy. Nobody cares about Army and Navy. No matter how high they're ranked, it doesn't matter if they're top 15 teams. It does not matter. They are service academies. We should beat them. They shouldn't belong in the playoff, and I don't believe that that's going to matter. But I hope that I'm wrong, because if it does, then maybe we will get that top 5, 6, 7, or 8 ranking. I don't see it, which means we're going to have to play at someone's house in the playoff. And I don't know. At this point, college football is wild this season. I could spend a whole podcast talking about all of the goings on of college football and all the games, all the upsets and the crazy games that are happening. And this weekend is going to be live. Prepare for this weekend. We're going to see a lot of movement again this weekend. A lot of good games. Georgia, Texas plays. So there's going to be some movement. Alabama, Tennessee. We got one of those 2 teams. Alabama or Tennessee is going to catch their second loss. That's good for Notre Dame. So, again, it's not good for depth, and you need depth for a playoff run. Especially if one of these other 2 kids goes down. Now, they're good enough. They're good enough, again, like I said, to play the rest of the season and beat the teams that we have going forward, the next 6 games. And they're also, by then, they'll have 6 games under their belt, a lot more experience. So they'll be okay, I think, in game 1 or 2. It's just, how banged up are they going to be? That's the big problem. That's the big question. We lose one more kid, and now you're looking at putting a person at cornerback who's playing out of position. That's not good. That person's going to get targeted over and over and over, and there's nothing Notre Dame's going to be able to do about it because they're out of position. They're just a person playing out, and they're going to have to play above their weight, and that's a very hard ask. That's a very hard thing to do. So back to injuries. Billy Schrauth is still out. We're expected to have him back at some point. It's not that big. Right now, it's not affecting us that much. It's not going to affect us the rest of the season because we're getting pretty good play. We're getting pretty good play from Rocco Spindler. So I'm not so much worried about that, but he's still out. Sam Penland has been banged up, but he's been playing. We're expected to have Jordan Faison back. He was supposed to come back last week, but they didn't end up playing him because they didn't need him. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that it's the same. Although Coach Freeman already said that he's available and that he'll be full go, I don't anticipate him playing. I don't actually anticipate him playing again until he is completely pain free. I mean, God knows when that is, but or at least 90, 95%, something like that. And I don't think he's there yet. Josh Burnham got back, had a huge play in that game. That was really that play that he made actually is what really turned the tide of the game and made it from where we were going to win comfortably to a blowout. So really good to have him back. Really, really need him. By the aforementioned players that I already mentioned that we lost, Jordan Botelho and Boubacar Traore. I mean, how many position groups on any team do you lose your number 1 and 2 player in the same in back-to-back games? It just so maddening, mind-numbingly maddening when you finally get depth at a position that you've needed for so long, which is pass rush. Both of the guys get hurt. I want to meet the person that first said luck of the Irish. It's not something I believe in because we're not lucky. We are not a lucky team. We never have been. Luck isn't something that runs in the annals of Notre Dame football lore. It's just not. It's one of those sayings. It's like sleeping like a baby. Babies sleep like crap. Babies do not sleep well. It's terrible. As a parent, you have to wake up every 2 to 4 hours, depending on your kid. I love my kid, by the way. We're not lucky. We're just not having one of those lucky seasons where our depth is. We were deep at the beginning of the season. We're not deep anymore. Certainly not at cornerback, and at offensive line. I mean, it's killing us. Gabe Rubio is back though. That's good. Him coming back is going to really, really help the defensive line. He actually was in the backfield quite a bit. He was making some plays. So that was really good. Jason Onye was not playing for some reason, personal reasons. That's it. That's all we get. Jason Onye not playing, personal reasons. That's it. Again, we the fans, mushrooms, we don't get to know. All that needs to be said is he's got personal reasons, and we're supposed to just be like, oh, okay, cool. All right. So that's all I got. Jason Onye. Not playing and don't have any idea when he'll be back. So what is the problem? Are these injuries something that are preventable? Are these injuries something that is being caused by what's being done or not being done by the coaching staff or training? Or I've been hearing all of that throughout the course of listening to the podcast I listen to. No, not in my opinion. If this were a bunch of hamstrings, which we did have last season and a couple seasons before that, like you had players at certain positions, like a whole position group were having hamstring pulls, something's up there. Something is up there on the training table. Charles Jagasaw tore his labrum in camp. He hurt his shoulder. Ashton Craig fell on, tore his ACL and other stuff during the Purdue game. Jabron Payne he had something similar happen to him in camp. Jordan Botelho, non-contact injury. He just turning a corner and just turned too much. His cleat got stuck in the grass and his foot stayed and his knee went that way. Bubakar Traore, non-contact injury. Big, fast, athletic men do these kinds of things because of what I just said. Someone who is 6'4", 250 pounds, but can run like a linebacker, if you step the wrong way or you make or your leg is the wrong position when you're trying to stop it, bad things can happen. That's exactly what happened to Bubakar Traore. Ben Morrison did something to his hip, and again, I already gave my analysis on that. So it's just these are just freak things, very unlucky things. Gabriel Rubio had his foot stepped on and had a foot problem. Josh Burnham had a high ankle sprain. Jordan Faison, high ankle sprain. It's just we're having a very, very, very unlucky season. And that depth is being tested. And I cannot wait to get through this season healthy because I'm hoping that we can, because I do believe we can win out and make the playoff. Here's the thing. If we don't win any game, pick any game, it doesn't matter who it is, pick a game, we're not going to the playoffs, so it doesn't matter, and we got a meaningless bowl game. So when you think about it that way, I guess the depth doesn't really matter. We're going to win out and go to the playoff, or we're not, and we're just going to play a stupid bowl game. So those are the injuries. That's my opinion. Bad luck. And hopefully next year, Marcus Freeman can really hone in on development and making sure the young guys have to play. You have to be able to identify talent in the youth so that they can be ready to play at a moment's notice. This is football. It is big boy sport. It is a very tough physical game, and you have to have 3 deep. 2 deeps, I think, are the thing of the past. The NCAA already approved we're going from 85-man scholarship limits to 105. That's going to happen, I think, as soon as next year. That's going to be needed from now on. From every team. Every team in college football is going to need this because of the length of the season and now the length of the postseason. And depth is just going to be needed. And you're going to have to be 2 and 3 deep at all positions. Every position, I don't care what it is. Every single position. Not only do you have to have 3 guys that can play it, you have to have 3 guys that can play it at a championship level. So that's that. I have to talk about this real quick. Has anybody else noticed how bad the officiating has been in college football this year? Not just in this past Notre Dame game, which it didn't really matter because we blew the doors off of the trees, but all throughout college football. If you go back, you look at two Miami games that the refs literally won the game for them. 2 games. They have 2 W's because the referees did or did not make a call that should have been made. I mean, and then this past game here, I have a question. Can anybody tell me? Anybody have a referee friend? Is a referee? Was a referee? Knows somebody that refed? Something. Why throw a flag and then pick it up and go, whoops, you know what? And second thought, it wasn't what I thought. I have seen more of that in the last 2-3 seasons than I've ever have in the previous 28 of watching football combined. Usually when a flag is thrown, it's done with conviction. Either throw the flag and then call it, or keep it in your freaking pocket if you're a ref. Have some conviction. Stop throwing flags and then picking it up. And what's the answer to that? The only answer I've heard so far, Tim Priester, he has a friend that was a referee, and the answer that was given was that specific play. There's a specific play that was clearly pass interference. The Stanford DB had both of his arms over the wide receiver and was on him and was not going for the ball at all. He was on top of him, and it was clearly pass interference, and the flag was thrown. The explanation given to Tim Priester over at Irish Illustrated was, there was a field judge and a line judge. The line judge is the one that threw the flag. The field judge came over and said, I didn't think that constituted a penalty. And then the line judge says, yeah, I threw that, but I wasn't really sure I should have done it. So they picked it up. That was the answer. That Tim Priester didn't really give an opinion onto how he felt about that. I'm apoplectic about that. Throw a flag or don't. Throw it or don't. And then you pick a flag up when it was clearly a penalty. Oh, it's just things like, listen, refs, things like that change games. They change outcomes. Careers are ended because of things like this. Pressure should be on you to make the right call. But here's the thing. I would rather you either make it or not, as opposed to throw the flag and then pick it up. That is beyond frustrating. That means you're not really sure you know what you're doing. Okay? That's I don't know what you guys are paid. Again, we're fans. We're kept in the dark. We don't know. We don't know your repercussions. We don't know what happens to you guys. And again, if there's somebody that knows, let me know. Like, do you have to get a certain percentage right? Like, is it in the 70s, 80%? And then if so, like, what happens? You get promoted, you get demoted. Where do you go? We don't know any of this stuff because it's not shared with us. And if a referee complains about it at a press conference, they get fined. You guys are the most protected You guys are the most protected. One of the most protected careers on this planet is refereeing at a professional level. I know not all of you guys are professionals, but man, that's annoying. I mean, and Notre Dame wasn't the only one that it happened against. We benefited from a terrible call. I think it would have been a first down anyway because the pass was completed. But there was a roughing the passer call later in the game that there's certain rules that they need to go away because you guys don't agree on them. You guys don't all agree on them. You're not even 50-50. The calls on things like roughing the passer and targeting and oh my gosh, the amount of holds that you choose to see it sometimes and then choose to see it you don't see it other times. When 80,000 people see the holds, you guys don't see the hold. Like, I just don't buy it. And I'm going to say it. To me, it's one of two things. It's either gross incompetency and you should be demoted, or there's something else going on. And I tend to lean on the old something else going on. A couple extra bucks here and there. Again, I know you guys aren't full-time referees. You have professional lives outside of being a referee. So it probably takes a toll. You probably need a couple extra bucks every once in a while. And I'm saying this because we have nothing else to go on. We're given nothing. We are told nothing. Explanations are the ones that are given to us. They shed no light on situations. I would prefer you just be like, look, I threw that flag. I made a bad call. I just made a bad call. But we don't ever get that as fans. Again, that's nitpicking. It's a whole bunch of nitpicking after a win like we had on Stanford. But it's an ongoing problem. I feel like it's going to keep happening all season long because nothing happens. There's no consequences handled down. At least no consequences that the fans can actually see for some reason. I mean, even though we watch the games, your salaries are in large part due to the amount of eyeballs that are on TV and at the games. My eyeballs, other fans' eyeballs. I feel like we're owed an explanation. I feel like we're owed something, and we're never given anything. We're never getting anything like that. So, again, I'm complaining now. I'm just complaining because I'm sick and tired of this stupid stuff. I'm sick and tired of stupid injuries. Sick and tired of really bad referee calls. We got Georgia Tech this weekend. I'm hearing a lot of things about Haynes King not playing, and if he doesn't, it's not going to be that big of that. It's not going to be that much of a contest. Look. Every team scares me. We lost to Northern Illinois. Okay, so every team scares me. This will be our first. It won't be a true road game as being played in Mercedes-Benz season, which you can basically hit a golf ball from Bobby Dodd to the Mercedes-Benz seat. They're right next to each other. But I don't know. Maybe the fact that it's a neutral site is going to help us. I don't think so, but it'll be the first time we've been out of the state of Indiana since Texas A&M. So we've had a nice run. Unfortunately, we've had all these injuries, but we've had a nice run at not traveling too much. So there's gonna be some travel. It's gonna get guys out of the routines a little bit. So how much of an effect that's going to have on the game, I don't know. Hopefully none. And hopefully we can get out of there with a W. I like to think that Riley Leonard and the offense has got enough going now. We've got enough figured out to be able to hang up a 31-17 style of win. So that's what my prediction is going to be, 31-17 against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, or whatever the heck they're called. I'll try and record after on Sunday night, but I'm not sure because there's going to be a lot of really good games to watch. Maybe I'll record Monday night after all the games have gone through. No, not Monday night. I'm sorry. Sunday night. There's a lot of good games Saturday night. Oh, you can tell I'm tired. I'm tired. A lot of good games Saturday night, so maybe I'll try and record Sunday night so I can watch all the games and then give you some immediate reactions on some of those games and also the Notre Dame game. So hopefully we get a big win versus the Yellow Jackets. My name's Danny again. This is a D Irish Fan podcast. Now I'm done.